gentlemen, welcome to the Slipstream F1 Championships. Today we are going to be at Silverstone, and it has been a wild practice so far, as about half the field has disconnected from the server. I'm going to give a disclaimer here off the start that I did accidentally forget to put us in spectator mode, so once we get into the race and qualifying, I'm going to have to back out, and hopefully we'll be able to still see qualifying in spectator mode. But this race is going to be a little off from what we've usually been seeing, but on track, what we've been seeing all season long. Bronson Stafford leading the way. As my name is Sam Dyer, with me is Anthony McCurry. And Anthony, it's kind of the same old, same driver up front, watching the rest of the field, trying to figure out how to catch up to him.
It is the same driver up front, but if you'll notice, looking through our running order, it's not the same drivers once you get past that. Bronson Stafford is your leader at the moment in terms of time goes. That might be taken away by Matthew Dyers. He's on a bit of a flyer lap during this last few minutes of practice. However, if you'll notice down there, you have Logan Breakie, who's in the Ferrari, not put on a lap yet. And the other Ferrari of JD not going to be here tonight, so both the Ferraris not going to start this race. The first time all season, we're on 8 races in, and this is the first time that the Ferraris have not started both of the races. It's going to be a little bit interesting to see if they can keep their Constructors' Championship hopes alive going into next week. But as you look down here, Matthew Dyer not too far behind Bronson Stafford on times.
Yeah, and right now they are battling as we take a look at the best laps. Both drivers were on the mediums, challenging to see who's going to have the fastest lap. So far goes to Bronson Stafford, who has switched now to the softs on an out lap. So interesting to see that the drivers are trying different strategies out from the rest of the field. And like you stated, Ferrari not here for this race, really. Breakie is here at the moment with his car, but he's mainly just here to host the lobby so that everyone else still has something to race for, as it's looking like he's going to actually let his bot race for him. So we're going to have the Breakie bot here trying to gain as many points as possible. As you can see at the bottom there, Flat Caster 2, that is us, that it will not be racing here. So we're going to have a total of 10 drivers for this race as qualifying is coming to an end.
10 drivers that, when you consider that a couple of key drivers haven't been able to make this race, that's huge. This is the biggest field that we've had without all the normal drivers being here, that being both the Ferraris. We know that at least one of them that won't make it. We do have some returning drivers, however. Spencer Hardenson, that was not the driver I was looking for. Shane will be back, though. He's driving the second of the 2 Alpha Tauris this weekend. That would be Hazardous on your screen. Gilberto Javier also making a return after having a good outing last week at Austria. He'll be starting this race. And as we look down here, we have this guy named JCW, who is going to be having his first start tonight in the Racing Point. A team that we thought that was going to be out of the season entirely a couple of weeks ago has actually been able to make this race tonight.
And last car here on the track is going to be Bronson Stafford trying to put a hot lap down on the softs compared to the rest of the field that only were putting laps down on the mediums. There were a couple of drivers that tried the softs out. That was Cosmic Cloud as well as Hazardous, but they both were running slower than what our top 2 are doing. It's really going to be a battle between Bronson Stafford and Matthew Dyer here today. Bronson's won every single race so far this season, coming across the line, will best his lap times, purpling here at the end, and now we're going to be setting up for qualifying for these drivers. Like we said, it's going to be slightly different here due to the fact that I forgot to put myself into spectator mode. So we'll try to get to qualifying as quick as possible and seamlessly as possible for you all to be watching this. But Anthony, based on practice, any surprises so far for you?
Not particularly. I am surprised a bit that Bronson Stafford so far, other than Caleb Smith and Shane, have been the 2 that have they're the only ones that have been on soft tires as of this entire practice session. Matthew Dyer, Javier, and the other drivers, that some of these drivers didn't even put a competitive lap in or any laps in practice to begin with. They didn't even get onto the softs, so a lot of drivers opting away from the softs. Maybe they are confident with this track, the way it handles, the way that they can know kind of what the softs will do based on their medium and hard lap tires or times. And other than that, it's pretty equal at the front as we've seen. Matthew Dyer might have a thing for Stafford this race. That Renault team has been extremely quick the last couple outings they've had. Javier, a solo car effort last week in Austria, finished well. Now we have both of them in, and we also like to point out that both of the McLarens are going to be racing here, so a big points day for them. Another driver that you might notice isn't here is the second of the Haas's. Frozen's here. The other Haas driver is not here.
Yeah, Johnson was not able to show up here for today's race as everyone else is trying to get it set up here. As we look at the board, Bronson Stafford will have the fastest lap time. He was on the softs compared to the mediums that Matthew Dyer was on. Then you got Cosmic Clouds, Javier, and then Hazardous there as your top five. JCW is going to be interesting to see where JCW stands with the rest of the field. Just because the lap times are slightly slower than what we were seeing our top two. So looking like a mid-pack driver for JCW, like you said, first race of the season.
And he's looking to just kind of capitalize on having a good finish. We don't really know what his racing style is. We're not exactly sure what to expect out of him. Didn't really turn that many practice laps, so we're gonna have to see how we go through. As that might be why they weren't practicing, because it's going to be raining for qualifying. So during the rain, whatever you had your car set up for the dry is going to be thrown out the window. We're not really sure what the conditions for the race is going to be like, but if we can have any sense of, consistency, it could be daylight, it could be rain. Being in Silverstone, it could very well be a rain race.
Yeah, and everyone going to be working on intermediates for this qualifying here. So it's going to be interesting to see where drivers decide to place their cars. As you're going to see, we're going to be trying to do a hot lap. We're going to retire from the session so that we can watch qualifying from afar here for these drivers as our car is going to be trying to get set up here as we back out. Up front right now is going to be Ghost. It's going to be Bada Breaky actually on top of the board at the moment.
Yeah, that Brakey bot is actually lapping pretty quickly in that Ferrari. Stafford, Dyer, and Javier are kind of battling it out between them for the top spot. Now here comes Stafford with the top spot, takes it away from Brakey. Dyer is trying to get the same amount of effort going, and check out the McLaren of Rodriguez. Shows himself in the third place position coming out of nowhere. Here comes the second of the two McLarens, Hardison showing his name up in the top five. This could be a battle between McLaren and Renault at the moment.
Do you want to specify this? Brakey and Khan both are bots. That's why we're seeing them running so well. Brakey, we know, always has been a quick driver up front and consistent. As up front, Matthew Dyer running in third. Bronson Stafford, who we've consistently seen every single week, be on top. Sometimes on top of the board with a pole, but always winning by the end of the race. So looking clean right now for the AlphaTauri as well as the Ferrari and the Renault, running pretty clean at the moment. But I'm surprised on looking at where these drivers are at. Maybe Bricky is actually driving this lap for qualifying. We really don't have the specifications on where drivers, who is a bot and who's not at the moment. As Matthew Dyer able to get through those chicanes really well, as now he's battling back and forth to figure out if he's going to be second or not.
He's going to be second and quite a ways back in second. As you see, Bronson Stafford got almost a 2-second advantage over the rest of the field. That's going to translate into the race. Hopefully, I was wondering if maybe he was setting his car up for a rain race. Maybe he knows something that we don't, but there are your times. Frozen, the only one to not put in a time out of all these drivers in the Haas. We've seen him try to qualify in the rain a couple of weeks ago, and I believe in Spain we also saw him do it in the rain, and he did not have a very good run there, so opting to not qualify. But as you see their times, they're actually pretty close to one another, aside from that racing point down there in ninth.
Yeah, I was trying to look back and see as the drivers are now getting ready to go green here. With drivers loading up, getting ready to go, we're now waiting for Matthew Dyer to load in. But Bronson Stafford shattering everyone else's lap time there in the wet. So Silverstone's known for being a wet track and having wet surfaces. That environment is always wet and cold, so not surprised we've seen some wet weather here as drivers are getting set up and ready to go.
Here at Silverstone for today's race, the British Grand Prix. the birthplace of Formula One for the entire series as a whole back in 1950. Now we are racing here in 2020. Things have changed dramatically, including the circuit. A lot has changed since then. It used to be a pretty simple counterclockwise oval that actually, it's a clockwise oval that not really an oval, but it was kind of set up such as an oval, and now it is one of the more technical tracks on the circuit. As the cars have gridded up, we'll begin to go through our pace lap. Sam, we have Shane disqualified, and it looks like that Smith was disqualified. They're disqualified from the formation lap. They'll be back at the start of the race. But Sam, we are getting ready to set these drivers up for a 26 lap race here at Silverstone, a very famous race circuit, and famous not only for it being the birthplace of Formula One, but also famous in the sense that it seems like a lot of racing action happens here. Just this year in the real Formula One race, we saw that tires were the issue. Do you think tires are going to be as big of an issue today as it was even back then?
Yeah, I'm expecting tires to most likely be a factor here. I mean, we've seen that throughout the whole entire season of drivers trying to get ready for this upcoming races. I mean, the first couple of races, Bronson Stafford really was the driver that won based off of tire strategy. Yes, had the pace and the speed over most of the drivers, but you thought maybe Ferrari could have been stealing some of these races if they just had a couple of better picks based off of tire strategy wise. And now I think it's really a question of what is the difference going to be between Matthew Dyer and Bronson Stafford on how their race is going to go for those drivers.
It's going to be a long race, a grueling race. Something that we are going to look forward into this race is that tire strategy, like you mentioned. Also, how will the new drivers handle the pressure of this being their first race? That being JCW, that's going to be his first race on the season, so we're going to see what he can do here tonight. Also, both Ferraris not present, so AlphaTauri, with both of their cars running tonight, has a chance to capitalize on the constructors' points. It was a close battle coming in, and it's going to be a closer battle, if not a complete lead change coming out of it. But we're going to grid them up, and we're about ready to start the British Grand Prix here for Slipstream Formula One.
Anthony, take it away as the lights are coming on.
It's lights out and we're off, and it looks like that the AlphaTauri is going to get a great run, but both of the Renaults on the inside are going to be trying to catch the inside. And whoa, Dyer goes in deep. Someone lost their wing in the back, but now here comes Dyer with a run on the AlphaTauri of Stafford, going to try and put his wing in there. The Ferrari is keeping up a braking, going to try and go through these sections coming on to the main straight. What can these drivers do as we thunder down the straight for the first time tonight?
Right now, Bronson Stafford trying to hold on, but here goes Matthew Dyer on the inside in the Renault, trying to make a pass here for the lead, and looks like he might be able to get it done as they're still side-by-side battling along. Reiki watching the action behind him.
Battle for the lead, coming down on what was the old start-finish straight, now is part of the middle section of the racetrack, going down to the Cops. What can they do? It looks like the Dyer's going to be alongside. Can he go around the outside of Cops? Down into Beckett's we go for the first time. They're still side-by-side through Beckett's, and you cannot be side-by-side for much longer than this, as it's going to be the Renault of Dyer taking the lead as they go through Chapel onto the Hanger Straight, and that is going to be Renault leading, but here comes Stafford again on the run down into Stowe. What can Stafford do? He's going to try to look to the outside. Nothing there. Going to cross over, heading into Bale. What a battle for the lead.
And this is only lap number 1 of 26 that we're going to be seeing here today, as the AlphaTauri is going to be trying his best to hold up, as it looks like we're going to be seeing the other Renault coming into the pits, coming across the line. Matthew Dyer is going to have the fastest lap there, as he's still side by side with the AlphaTauri there, as they are still wheel to wheel for this lead.
Into Village. What can these drivers do that they already haven't done? As it's only lap 2, and these drivers are duking it out like it's the last lap. They have to. This is a crucial battle for the points lead. If you're any of the Ferraris, you want Bronson Stafford to not win this race in order to have a shot at the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship, because at this point, Bronson Stafford's got this championship for the drivers locked up, but as far as constructors go, anything that they can do to make sure that even though they've only got one car running, that they can maximize their points day, that's what they have to do. So right now, they're temporary Renault fans in that Matthew Dyer, but here comes Logan Brakey. You know that he wants to have a go at it as Matthew Dyer goes way wide through Cobbs. That could have been disastrous for the Renault.
As we look here at the tires, our top two deciding to go with the medium compounds. The rest of the field on softs, except for the bottom two, which is going to be Hazardous and Javier. They are going to be on the mediums as well. Javier did have to come to the pits. He was the one that lost his wing there. Bronson Stafford now, after that ridiculous first lap, is now slowly but methodically pulling away from Matthew Dyer. And Dyer now has to worry about Brakey, who is on the softer compounds, and that's why he's really able to stay with the Renault here. As Dyer, the longer this run goes on, the more he should be able to pull away, as Bronson now putting the fastest lap down.
You would think so, but that Renault has been still within striking distance. He's actually going to be within DRS now. It's activated on lap 3. So that Renault is going to be within striking distance. If they can get to the DRS zones, he's going to have the straight line speed advantage to try and keep up with the AlphaTauri. Don't count out that Ferrari either. Ferrari and Spencer Hardison, we need to mention him. He's running 4th place, a very competitive 4th place. He's actually keeping up with these top 3, and he's bringing JCW and Rodriguez with him. So, for all 3 of these drivers, they have a shot.
And as our front runners are all battling nose to tail within a half a second of each other, they continue to run hard. Con right now on the back bumper of JCW, and so they're still running hard back here. Our top 6 all within striking distance. Actually, our top 7 all within striking distance. Then you have to drop back to 8th place, where you see Hazardous and Frozen and Nerda really having their little battle going on, and then Javier is about 40 seconds back from our leader, Bronson Stafford. So a huge gap there, as a crossover move being made by Brakey here in the Ferrari, bumping the Renault, trying to make him go faster here, as Bronson is pulled away to 2.2 seconds.
He's trying to get away from these drivers.
Oh, Spencer Hardison dives it deep.
And there goes the McLaren in. Around the final corner they go, and now put Spencer Hardison in that McLaren. This is the first time that he's been showing this kind of pace this early on in the race. He's in a top 3 position. He's on a podium position right now. So this is, if he can keep this run up, then he might have something for the end of this race. This will be his first podium if he can indeed do that, and will be the first time that we've seen the McLaren on the podium this entire season, as he gets around Brakey. JCW now on the hunt for that Ferrari. He's showing some speed. And look at this train of cars. You've got Brakey, JCW, Rodriguez, Smith, and now here comes Smith down to the inside of Rodriguez. He's going to take the position away for that McLaren, or Mercedes, I should say, and now move him up into 6th. He's going to look for the top 5.
Caleb Smith in the Cosmic Cloud username, able to move up now to 6th place. Now JCW is going to be trying to get on the back gearbox of Brakey and the Ferrari. And then Spencer Hardison, he's now thinking about making a move here on the Renault, as he's very close, as he's within 3/10 of the Renault. And Bronson Stafford has now pulled away almost 4 seconds. This is shocking to see. Maybe there might be an issue for the Renault of Matthew Dyer, or there's just a consistency issue. I can't tell, because that really, the AlphaTauri just pulled away since that first lap.
But someone who hasn't pulled away is Hardison. He's going to try and have a move on him. At that same breath, that Ferrari is also trying to have a move on Hardison. This battle for 2nd place has just ramped up, all of them within DRS zone, as they come rocketing down the front straightaway. We're going to go through the village curve and then into village. What can these drivers do through here is we got to catch our breaths, man. It's been a wild opening few laps. We're already on lap 5. This race is almost a quarter of the way over, and this has been non-stop action, and it continues as the battle for 2nd is literally within a second.
Yeah, it's within a second, and then behind him, you've got the battle there for 3rd place. It's all within a second between 3 vehicles as well. It's just wild action time after time, and the driver that's really surprising me that has been able to stay up front has got to be JCW, who we had no idea what they were going to bring to the table here in the Racing Point machine, but has been doing a great job running 5th at the moment, but being under pressure from Cosmic Cloud. Also, you saw that Khan has disconnected from the race, has been moved to bot mode, so Khan in the McLaren is in the bot. We know for sure now. I think Brakey might actually be racing. Who knows? With the spaces, oh, they are really racing hard.
Speaking of racing hard, JCW and Smith almost had a tangle going into Maggots, and now that Racing Point under fire from the Mercedes of Smith going down the hangar. He's on the DRS. Can he get it into snow? He's going to drive it in deep, but backs out of it at the last moment, as it's going to still be JCW in that position, but that Mercedes is mad fast down the straights, and we should see him try to get back up to the rear wing in the next couple of laps time. And this has been wholesale the craziest opening laps. I should add to my previous statement, as there's a battle going on at every corner of the racetrack right now where there's a car running, and it's still not gonna, it's just gonna get more intense from here on out as the battle between the Mercedes and the Racing Point continues. This battle for the third place position is still a big battle between Dyer, Hardison, and Brakey as they go down onto the straight for the 6th time here tonight. And you know, Bronson Stafford kind of in a league of his own right now, kind of running all by himself, and Javier had to make that early stop for the win.
Pass for 5th place has been made. Cosmic Cloud able to make that pass. Sorry for talking over you.
No, that's fine. I didn't see that. I was looking back at Javier, and so there's that Mercedes. You know, Caleb Smith has had some speed all season long. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him try to go for a podium, if not even as high as 2nd place. Oh, he almost lost it, and he gets on the grass. Here comes the Racing Point going into Maggots, and what the ballsy move that was on the point of the Racing Point as he got through there and took the position back. That Mercedes is struggling. Here comes Rodriguez to try and take the position.
So after going into the HUD mode, the overhead view of looking over the drivers, you actually can look and see if they're an actual driver or an AI mode. It looks like JCW actually might be in AI mode, because whenever we look, it says AI over him. So we might be seeing that this Racing Point team is in bot mode compared to the rest of these drivers that are out here.
Still a good showing for JC as he's, you know, this will give Racing Point some points, whatever that means for the team as a whole at the moment. They started out with a 2-car effort at the beginning of the season. Now they're only down to a 1-car, and it's very spotty on whether or not they make races. It was nice to see that Racing Point at least has something going for them tonight, as you know, they're not really in contention for much in the Constructors Championship, but still going into the season strong with high hopes. This is about the best that they could come up with, and you know, give them credit for doing what they had to do. And JCW still with a good run, or running in 5th place. Logan Brakey in the Ferrari trying to salvage something for Ferrari here tonight, as they really need this. Even if it's a single car effort, they really need this effort here tonight, as this is the first race, as we touched on it earlier, the first time that these two Ferraris have not been in a race together since the opener at Australia. So first time without a teammate for Brakey.
Yeah, first time, and it's going to be a little odd because we've been so used to seeing Ferrari racing around one another up front and doing well. Right now on track, some of the closest battles that's going on is actually going to be the McLarens racing, both of them in heated battles for 6th place and for 2nd place. As keep on swapping back and forth. It's so hard to tell which one is the better one, as we're on board with Khan, who's trying to make a pass here on Cosmic Cloud. Not able to just yet, as we're on lap number 8. And now it's time to start looking out for those softer tires, and when are they going to be thinking about pitting, as they have to pit way before the hard compounds do.
Yeah, we have a lot of drivers on the mediums and a lot of drivers on the softs. It's 1 car more on softs than on mediums. Than the whole field as you look down through the order. Although that one being on mediums, that'd be Javier. He had to make a pit stop early, so that's why he switched to the mediums. I think he was on softs at the beginning of the race, so he's definitely gonna have to come down again for another tire selection. Although he can choose whatever tire he wants at this point. Something that we need to note, though, is that you said that the tires are going to start falling off for these soft compound drivers, and that I think you're seeing the benefit that Dyer and Stafford has at the moment, is both of them are trying to get away from the drivers that are on softs. But at that same breath, though, the medium tires really haven't kicked into their fullest potential at the moment, as those softs are still at the end of their lifespan, still got a little bit of grip in them. And you're seeing a bit of an interesting point where it's kind of evened out between the two compounds at this stage.
Well, now what was looking like a close battle just for second place is now a battle for third, as Brakey is now caught up to the
Cool.
McLaren, as here comes Spencer Hardison on the outside of the Renault, thinking about making a pass here, not able to make it clean just yet, but still side by side. Here comes Brakey. He might be trying to make a move as they're all three of them on top of one another, going to blanket over how close these drivers are, and they somehow survive, as now Spencer Hardison has to rethink when to make that move again, as here they come.
Man, going through the first two turns as they go through the village section of the racetrack. And that was, like you said, going down to that final chicane, that could have been horrifying if any of them made contact, especially if it was up by the Renault. That would have been game over for a few of these drivers as far as their run was concerned. But they're going to check up, try it again a couple laps later as we're on lap 9 of 26. This battle for second, the closest and most competitive battle on the racetrack at the moment. And this is crucial because that team of Ferrari, that Ferrari team trying to get in the podium, this will be the first time that we haven't seen a Ferrari in the podium if they can't get there either. So a lot on the line for Ferrari and everything to gain for Bronson Stafford and AlphaTauri. As AlphaTauri, with both of their cars running tonight, albeit in a situation where it's not exactly favoring them, as you see that Hazard's running very far back, about where he would normally run in the 8th position. You know, even though they have a two-car effort, it's still going to be a bit of an uphill climb if they want to take the lead away from Ferrari and the constructors, as this battle for second does not seem to want to go away. It's Brakey had a bit of a moment coming out of Chapel, now into Stowe. This battle continues to rage on, and is the Ferrari going to have a dive into the chicane? I don't think he will. Give that position back to the McLaren. No, a crossover by the Ferrari going down the front straight. This is going to be crucial for them as they try to battle out, and this is going to give Dyer a good advantage trying to get away from these two.
And Dyer really needed to get away, because once that battle once was a 2-car battle for second place to a 3-car battle, as Spencer Hardison kind of taking a little bit wide there and continues again and giving an opening for the Ferrari to possibly make a pass here. But it is now helped the gap between Bronson and Dyer to be out to almost 9.5 seconds, which is huge to see when once that one moment was at 6 seconds, as they still race on. Spencer Hardison driving a little bit wider here or there, but still slowly catching up to Dyer.
And he's on the end of his tire's lifespan, as we touched on earlier, so he's going to try and just hold on for whatever those tires will give him at this point in the races. We should see our soft tire drivers come down pit road any moment. Be this lap until about lap 14, I think, is when we'll see some of these drivers come down and get some much fresher rubber, and could potentially maybe even one stop it the rest of the way. I think a lot of these drivers are trying the one-stop strategy, especially a lot of these drivers. Here comes the Ferrari down the hanger. He's going to try and do it again on the outside. What can he do? It's on DRS. That position goes to Logan Brakey in the Ferrari. Position change for third place, and now here he comes. Here comes Hardison in the pits. We thought he was going to do it soon, and he has done it on lap 11, or going on to lap 11.
I think that's a brilliant play. Make the Ferrari battle, lose some time, then come into the pits. The only driver so far that has come in, as that once was a battle there for third place, now is done. We drop back for fourth place, where we see JCW catching up to Cosmic Cloud and being within a half a second of one another, as it looks like a car slow coming into the pits. Trying to figure out what happened back at the entrance of Sector 2. I believe that was still Spencer Hardison coming in.
No, I think it was frozen. I think he had a bit of a moment coming out of Stowe. That it's not confirmed. I think I just saw on the relative where he was a little bit slow through there, but did not go fully around, as he's still got some issues, as he's off the racetrack going into that's Village, as he's
the same as
all over.
Whoa,
Hardison's all over the racetrack. Something happened to him.
Yeah, both of them have been struggling out here, and just because of Frozen's first incident, Hardison had to drive a little bit awkwardly, and they both came back on the track very weird and almost wrecking one another out. But able to get things sorted, and now Spencer Hardison, after losing some time there with some issues, can get back going, get back into a rhythm, and try to gain all that time back that he just lost. As now he's starting to pull away from Frozen, we move back up to JCW, who is almost a second away from Cosmic Cloud, but just too far to get that DRS help to try to help that Racing Point team catch up. As more drivers in the pits, here comes Brakey that's coming in.
So the Ferrari opting to come down pit road. They're calling him into box, and he's going to come down and be the first time tonight. We don't know if these drivers are thinking about the one stop. It is possible. It would be really difficult, but it is possible for these drivers to one stop this race. We'll have to see what they can do, as the Ferrari with a pretty quick stop going to come out on track momentarily. The pit road speed limit here at Silverstone, one of the slowest we have all season. It's a crawl to get back onto the straight, as he's now just trying to get there. It's also a really long pit road. You're on the pit limiter for a long time at this track, so he's now just coming back out on the racing surface. As go back to the front. Seems like everything's all clean and cut at the front at the moment.
Yeah, what once was a very close battle between Breaky and Spencer Hardison, you see there with the incident with Frozen has now caused issues, as looks like Frozen might have had even more issues than he did. Into the sand trap is going to be the Haas driver of Frozen, Anerta, giving Gilberto Javier the position of 9th place, which gives Renault another point there on the board.
And he's going to take out a couple of our brake markers on the way through the first chicane, as he's coming around trying to get back that Costco in the right direction. He's on 11 lap all tires. And he thinks that it's about time to get those tires replaced, as he's having a bit of a struggle trying to get back going the right direction. How it has done it, however, is no one else opting to pit so far. I wouldn't expect.
It's going to be Cosmic and Khan both coming into the pits. It's going to be the Mercedes and the McLaren both coming in, swapping to the medium. So looking like this possibly could be a one-stopper for a lot of these drivers, but I think what we got to keep our eyes out on is for Bronson and Dyer and the others that start on the harder compounds. How far can they go compared to the rest of the field out there? As right now the lead is up to over 10.5 seconds between Bronson Stafford and Matthew Dyer, who we saw have a fantastic battle there on the first lap, but ever since then Bronson has just pulled away. And you know, it was put in the comment sections last week, this is pretty much the Bronson series, if anything, just based off of the dominance that he's been showing all season long. And it's wild to see Spencer Hardison able to get by the car that just pitted of Cosmic Cloud. You can already see the difference with how Spencer Hardison has lost all that time. Cosmic Cloud now has gained time on the McLaren.
He has indeed done that, and this could be a battle between Mercedes and McLaren by the time all things are said and done. And you know, you touched on it, that the comment that it's kind of become the Bronson series. I mean, think about it this way: we have our very own Lewis Hamilton, if you want to think about it that way, where he's got his own. I mean, he's in another league. He's proven that he can come out of any situation. Though don't let this race be a gauge to race all other races off of, because it's not been the easiest of seasons for this AlphaTauri and this driver in particular. Because yes, this race he qualified pole, had a fantastic side-by-side battle with Matthew Dyer for the first 3 laps, and then ever since then it's been him out front trying to gap the field. But you know, you think back to a couple of races, you think about Canada, he had to come all the way up through the field in the rain. There was a moment where some of these drivers were on different strategies. He had the best one, was able to get that win. There was another race before that, the race before that, Monaco, where he had to start towards the middle of the pack and had to work his way up through the field, and he won Monaco by not a very huge margin, I might add you. So it's the whole season has been a mixed bag of easy races, I should say. It's not really, these races are never easy. It's clean races where everything goes your way, and even the struggle where you have to pull some magic out of a hat that you have somewhere in the garage. And so far, this has been one of the more chill races for that AlphaTauri, and they're looking to extend their points lead in the constructors and in the drivers. As I think if we get to the end of this European stretch and he has won all the races thus far, I'm willing to wager that based on where Logan Breakey's running on the racetrack at the moment, I'm willing to wager that he might lock up the point standings for the Drivers' Championship before we even head to Singapore, which is I believe the first race after our string of European races.
Well, right now we are on board with Cosmic Cloud that is trying to catch up to Spencer Hardison. This is what would be a battle for what's going to be 4th place, as they've been slowly also catching up to Breaky. This is going to be about what after pits go through what these should be battles for about third place with all these drivers on top of one another. As Matthew Dyer has been running pretty consistent and running hard. Spencer Hardison has now put down the fastest lap so far this race with the fresh mediums. And that McLaren is coming with a head of steam as he 1 point was 2 seconds back and now under a second.
Yeah, he's right on the back end of the Ferrari trying to see what he can do. He's going to have DRS going down the straight, so he should reel him in. There are 2 DRS zones on this track, this one and then the hangar. So we'll have to see what he can do there. If he can get within striking distance, if he can have a better run out of Chapel than the Ferrari can, I believe that he might have a run going in the Stowe. That seems to be the play. Oh, I say that, and then he gets off into the dirt a little bit, so that might hamper him a little, just the tiniest of bits, as he's still within a second.
Yeah, I mean, what was making it look like it might have been about 6/10 has now dropped back to 7/10 for a moment, but just like that, already he's gained it all back off of a couple of corners. So just showing how well this car is going. Looking at the cloud cover has been covering the sun every once in a while and affecting possibly the track temps, but it doesn't look like there's enough cloud cover for rain to come during this race. But it's kind of looking like the way Australia looked, where cloud cover would come in and out, but there wasn't enough clouds for there to be rain during the race.
Yeah, we've only had one rain race so far. That was Canada. We've had rain in practice and qualifying for some races, though. This race being one of them. We had the qualifying session being in the rain. Canada was also in the rain. So being Canada is the only experience that these drivers have in the wet weather as far as when you're out on track making laps consistently. We really don't have a whole lot to gauge based on these drivers' skill level in the wet. We did see Matthew Dyer try to do the wet in the soft tires, I believe. No, not soft.
Yeah, he was using the mediums for that. That was in Canada for that. And he was trying. If Matthew Dyer did not spin out when he was on the dry compounds during the rain, I think he would have been able to get that race win. But he lost way too much time. Speaking of time, it's gone. Brakey had a nice gap. It is now dwindled to nothing. Spencer Hardison is there trying to make the pass here. What would be net gain up to third place once pits go through for all these drivers. His first car in on the medium compounds is going to be Matthew Dyer, as they'll be coming to the pits here in second place, most likely switching to the soft compounds to finish this race off.
That's going to be a long way to go on those softs, although he can do it. We saw a lot of these drivers make it that distance when they had the softs as their first tire selection, so he's going to come in, get the softs. That's what he's going to do. He's only got about 13 laps he's got to run on these softs before the end of the race. Not even that, it's about 11 laps he's got to run on these soft tires before the end of the race. Now here comes the other AlphaTauri, who is actually sticking it out. He's actually been on the track about as much as a teammate.
Spencer Hardison had a little bit of goof there, giving space for Cosmic Cloud to make the pass there, and now he'll be the one trying to run down Brakey.
Oh, interesting. So now this battle between Mercedes and McLaren continues on. This whole battle for what is going to be the third place position continues to heat up as Spencer Hardison, hungry for his first podium of the season. It's his best showing so far of the season. He's within striking distance of it and willing to capitalize. Also, another driver, Caleb Smith, to be his first podium of the season in that Mercedes. He started with Racing Point, has made his way to Mercedes, and is now trying for his first podium as well here at Silverstone, as Matthew Dyer is actually catching up to the AlphaTauri of Hazardous, going to put him back into the third place position. That is
Oh my goodness.
Oh, he forced the issue. I think I would have waited before you got onto the hangar, but he was not willing to wait, as now he's got Pat clear of him. He's actually going to have DRS going down hangar. He's on a terrible lap. He put in a purple sector too that last time by.
I mean, that just shows the power of soft tires with the fuel tank dwindling away. Bronson Stafford has gone into the pits, but he's going to still have over a 20 plus, maybe even it might be 15 seconds lead over over Matthew Dyer. Does Bronson Stafford have as Hazardous into the pits? And now Brakey, who's going to be in third place, trying to run down Matthew Dyer, but looking like it is going to be impossible, as Dyer coming in early has actually been able to gain time on Bronson Stafford that is crazy to see, actually.
Yeah, he's gained about 2 seconds on him during that cycle. I mean, the medium tires were at the end of their lifespan, so he came in, got the softs, and is now flipped into the hot lap mode and trying to get around this track as quickly as he can to make up the gap. The gap's a bit big, and now that they're on the same tire compound, I don't know how quickly the gap will increase, decrease, or if they'll just stay the way it is. However, this battle for third place, these drivers are all in the same tire compound as well. They're going to go to the end of the race on these mediums, so it's a battle between the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and the McLaren for the third step of the podium. They're going to try and sort themselves out, as now it looks like that Smith is going to have a run going into Maggots and Beckett's. It's going to be the Mercedes setting up the Ferrari for a run down into Stowe. He's going to have the DRS. In that same breath, though, so does too. Spencer Hardenson's going to have DRS. He got a bit of a weird exit out of Chapel. He's going to fall back a little bit, but Smith not close enough to make a move into Stowe, as he's going to try it again the next lap.
And you're running out of time, really, as we're coming to 8 laps to go here. These drivers really getting set up they need to have the best run possible if they want to get there. Fastest lap being placed down by Matthew Dyer now, as he has now cut it down on that last lap to now about a 3/10. But based on how many laps are left and just based off of that ratio, I don't think that Dyer's going to have enough pace to catch up, as Bronson now is starting to pull away once he's gotten those tires warmed up.
Bronson Stafford enjoying a nice 10.5-second lead, about to be an 11-second lead with the way he's running. Purple sector 2. Now going on to our third and final sector of the racetrack. And, Sam, I want to welcome you back to the booth. You were supposed to, I think, commentate last night, but you had some issues happen on your end.
It's been a weird week so far for me. I mean, I missed last week for Slipstream with that, dealing with a cold, and then had a weird leg cramp issue that made it to where I had to go check on it last night. So I missed last night's broadcast, but it's good to be back up in the booth and being able to do this fun broadcasting and getting to hang out with you, Anthony, week after week. It's always a blast.
And we like to, we always, when one of our own have an issue, it kind of affects the entire group. So the Flatout Racing Network has been pulling for you, and glad that you're back and calling this really fun race. Like you said, it has been nonstop from start to finish, and I just looked up at the lap counter. We're almost done with this race. It has not been disappointing. Silverstone is always a fun race, and we're seeing just the elements of the track. It's a perfect storm. You have the perfect mix of fast corners, fast straights, slow corners. The track design, the way it's laid out, makes for some really close racing in the middle section. The first, I can't get over how cool the opening turn complex is when you have the turn 1 and 2, where you can go flat out through there and at the edge of your car's limits, and then you have to slow it way down for a couple of really short right lefts, and then back onto a straight, and then again onto what was the old straight, circa about 2008, until they did the reconfiguration. I think in 2009 they did the reconfiguration. So, this track, I love Silverstone, and we're seeing another fantastic race tonight.
No, it's been an utter blast for sure. I mean, we got to see Bronson Stafford and Matthew Dyer battling it out for the first lap, and ever since then, it's been Matthew Dyer battling out with Spencer Hardison for a bit there. Cosmic Cloud was battling with JCW, and then he's caught up to Brakey and Spencer Hardison in their battle. And speaking of Brakey and battles, the pass being made here for third place as Cosmic Cloud and the Ferrari and Brakey side by side as they continue on. This is the battle for third place. Who will be making it to the podium, as Cosmic Cloud looking for his chance for a podium, and Brakey is under fire once again as Spencer Hardison gets by. The Ferrari had an awful launch, and it has cost them 2 positions.
There was some contact between him and the Mercedes of Smith. They got together, and that opened the door for Hardison to get through. So now the focus shifts to a battle between McLaren and Mercedes as Smith tries to pull away from Hardison, but Hardison, how badly he wants this, and now the Ferrari's getting held up by the Haas driver trying to get around this racetrack as the Haas sends it in deep, tries to make the position, but he's about a lap down right in front of the Ferrari. But now that's allowed Hardison to pull out a over-second gap over his competitor Brakey in the Ferrari, and now he's going to run down the Mercedes to Smith. He's about a 1.5 seconds back, so not in DRS zone, but Hardison has proven that he's one of the faster drivers. You should see what he can do.
Yeah, now that we're going to see the Cosmic Cloud does not have DRS, and DRS really isn't going to be a factor here for these drivers. It's going to be awesome to see how much time can Spencer Hardison catch up to Cosmic Cloud here, as Brakey now has dropped all the way back to fifth. And after being held up by that lap car, I'm nervous to see if that's going to bring him back, as now Sector 2 issues, as that's going to be Khan going in too deep and dumping it into the sand pit, trying to get that car back and straight. And it looks like he is now done for the session. And with him dumping out of the session, with wait and see, I don't think any safety car will come out, as the car will ghost and continue to just go on cruise control to the end of this thing, being our first official car being DNF'd out as Flatcaster. That is us. That is not a official driver that is running right there, as JCW has caught up to Brakey. He's inside DRS zone, and a driver to watch out for that could be making a pass here.
Racing Point trying to get into the top 5 and get those crucial points for Racing Point. As we mentioned, Racing Point, a bit of a weird season for them, as they started with 2 cars, now they're down to 1, and it really depends on who wants to drive them. But making these consistent races, they were in Austria, now they're here, as he's not on DRS. He hasn't activated it, which I don't really understand why he wouldn't have done that.
The reason why is it's an AI unit that is driving that Racing Point machine, so they are not in a mode to activate DRS possibly, but still running extremely quick even without DRS, as they've caught up to the Ferrari. And this is disastrous for the Ferrari team that was looking to possibly have a top 3 finish here today, even with the woes of not having both Ferraris here. Now looking like not even a top 5 finish for them.
No, not at all. This is not what Ferrari needed. Ferrari again came in with the points lead in the constructors, and I have a sinking suspicion that they might be close to losing it at the end of this race, as Bronson Stafford still with a huge lead over Dyer, but his teammate Hazard is running in second. And although that, or not second, seventh, I should say, and although that is not going to get Hazardous a whole lot of points, it is going to get AlphaTauri more points than they would if they were a single car effort. And every point counts, and with there only being 1 Ferrari in this race, we mentioned it at the top of the program and many times throughout this race, is, you know, you got to have both your cars running if you want to be a contender in the Constructors' Championship, and a 5th place is not going to cut it for the Ferrari team today.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this race here today, Constructors was extremely close, being about 18 points difference between Ferrari and AlphaTauri. So it's going to be such a huge bounce back for the AlphaTauri team that they're now going to have possibly the constructors' points lead and the drivers' points lead because of Bronson's dominant efforts. With him winning every single week, it has kept that team in striking distance of Ferrari, waiting for a week like this for them to take the constructors' points back.
Now, we are still a bit midway through the season. There's still a lot of racing to go, and a lot of tracks that it could favor Ferrari, a lot of tracks that we could see some interesting races. I keep mentioning Singapore, but it is probably the most complicated track other than Monaco that we're going to go to this season, and being in that climate, it is susceptible to rain. This climate is susceptible to rain as well, but we didn't see it here. But it seems like we get rain in Singapore more often than not, and being that it's going to be, number one, the longest race of the season, given just the amount of the track length and how slow the lap is, we're going to see them have to kind of sweat it out through that one. It's going to be a long one, but a crucial one, as that is setting us up for the Final Four, which is going to be, as I look through here, it's going to be Japan, the U.S. Grand Prix, then the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and then it's going to be our season finale in Brazil for the Brazilian Grand Prix. As you know, still a lot of racing here to go.
There's still a ton of racing to go. I mean, we're only in race number 8 of the season. Next week we're going to be going to Spa, and that is another very quick racetrack where it's all about holding your speed and trying to utilize the DRS for passing zones, and that is going to be some fun racing to see in Belgium next week.
Yep. Spa-Francorchamps, one of my favorite racetracks of all time. As I had ice in my mouth, I wasn't expecting you to finish your thought that quick, and I was like, oh, God.
We should have a button sometimes that tells one another when we're eating or not, or taking a breath or a drink, because I do that to Seth all the time in all of our other broadcasts, where we'll be like going off on our long tangents like every other sentence, and then I'll just go on a short one and just not really go anywhere with it, as we're on board with JCW still within a second, but since not using the DRS zone, the DRS button, and getting that advantage, not being able to really stay close enough to Breaky to make the pass just yet.
Whoa!
But woohoo.
Okay, that was a glitch on my end because it looked like he missed the chicane completely and ran off into the gravel, but he did not. He's actually still on the racetrack, and I
Yeah,
thought for sure that
doing
was.
just fine for now.
All right, so it was just the game being a little bit weird that time around, but I was gonna say that Spa is one of my favorite tracks of all time. I've raced on it wholesale more than any other circuit in the world. That one, Le Mans, and a couple of the U.S. tracks is where I've been racing at the most. But always fun to watch a Spa race, and Formula One at Spa, even better.
Well, everyone's pretty gapped out at the moment. I'm going to take a look at a driver we haven't talked about all race long because he's been up front and no one's been around him really. That's Bronson Stafford and the AlphaTauri team, and this crew does it again, it looks like. Coming to the white flag, just has to hit his marks and really doesn't need to make too many mistakes. With over a 20-second gap on Matthew Dyer, Bronson is feeling comfortable that this is a dominating win. Ever since he got the lead after lap number 1, he has just never looked back. And it's been incredible to see here, Anthony. I mean, that lap 1 kind of made it deceptive that maybe Matthew Dyer was going to be there to challenge this team, but just was not able to after lap number 1.
Both of these drivers used up a lot of their equipment on the opening 3 laps, and I think the one that got away from it has been AlphaTauri. Now, remember, AlphaTauri has had more experience this season with developing their car. They've been able to bring a much faster piece of machinery to the race this week, as Renault has, because Renault has only been in the series since I believe it was Spain when we saw them at first, and that was race number 4. So since race 4, it's been for Renault, and they've had a single car effort and until today where they have a 2-car effort. But again, Bronson Stafford, a dominating performance tonight and looking to cruise for his 8th win of the season, is down the hanger for the final time. Will there ever be an end in sight for this team, or will they skyrocket, go for a season sweep?
I mean, a season sweep is still possible, but like you said, a very long season left to go, but about to make it 8-4-8 here at Singapore. I mean, here at Silverstone, excuse me. We're talking about Singapore, is going to be Bronson Stafford and the AlphaTauri team. He is going to be getting another win on his belt. Matthew Dyer right now running in second place. He's got a very nice 7.5-second gap between himself and Cosmic Cloud, as they're going to be battling on behind him. But Matthew Dyer officially now is going to be running every single race from here on out. So we're excited to see what this Renault team is going to do, as he's one of the favorites to try to dethrone Bronson Stafford moving forward. But Cosmic Cloud, after a wild season, is going to find himself in a podium position.
Caleb Smith has made a switch to Mercedes, and that's what it had to take to get him to be on the podium, as he is now on the podium for the first time this season. A fantastic drive from the 12 team, and that is crucial for them, as he really needed to have a good bumper going in, because he's still in the Drivers' Championship, as well as now getting some valuable Constructors' Championship points for Mercedes for the middle of the pack in that championship. And a good run like this, they can mount up, and we could see him possibly be a podium favorite going into a few races.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Caleb get this 3rd place finish, it is going to help him so much in points wise. They could be bumping this Mercedes team up to possibly 4th or 5th in points just after this finish. It's wild to see, as this is also going to help Matthew Dyer points wise. Should put him either 4th or 5th, because that's going to be the battle between Caleb Smith and Dyer, as they're very close points wise. But the winner here today goes to the man who's been winning all season long, and that's going to be Bronson Stafford. Does it again here at Silverstone.
We're getting used to seeing him on the top step of the podium, but now he's got a couple of new drivers to spread the champagne around. That'd be Matthew Dyer and Caleb Smith. But that AlphaTauri, they have been exceptional this season. And again, on the top step of the podium, this time for the British Grand Prix, is we're gonna take a look at your finishing order, and as you run down this list, it's kind of weird not seeing JD on this list, not seeing Ferrari in the top step of the not the top step, but in the podium position, as we've seen at least one Ferrari in that podium spot pretty much every race this season. So feeling a bit empty without them.
Yeah, it's a little empty without them, and also seeing Brakey finish outside of the top 4 is wild to see, as JCW going to be getting a 6th place finish after their debut here today. Bronson Stafford really class of the act, with his fastest lap being a full second faster than what Matthew Dyer did. I mean, that just shows why he had over a 21-second lead at the end of this race. No one did have any penalties here today, which is amazing to see from these drivers. Khan was the only driver that got a DNF here today, and Frozen going 2 laps down to the rest of the field. I mean, Bronson does it again as we're setting up for this wind down in our interviews with our top 3. Wild to see where these drivers finished up, but a driver that's excited and jazzed where they finish. We're going to be trying to pull in Caleb Smith here, trying to get him into the booth, as there he is. We're now pulling him in for interviews. It's going to be the Mercedes crew team of Caleb Smith. Caleb, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that was a different race. We were seeing a lot of new faces here today. Ferrari wasn't fully here, but you had the chance to get a podium finish and you got it done.
Yeah, man. In the start, there was 2 AIs on the grid. It was, I think, Brakey and Matthew Rodriguez. They were kind of giving me trouble in the beginning, but once I got around them, it was kind of easy. Spencer was also giving me a hard battle, so I felt like that was his podium had I messed up. So I'm just happy to be on the podium, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it was a battle from the start of the race to the end. Was there any point that you were just wanting a breath of fresh air at one point, just because of how much action was going from the start of this race?
Oh, at the from the start of the race to the finish of the race, I'm pretty sure everyone in the general chat could hear me breathing very heavily. So it was definitely a close one for the mid pack anyway.
Yeah, the mid pack was the place to be for the battles on the racetrack. For a while, though, at the beginning of the race, it seemed like it was going to be about 5 or 6 drivers gunning for the top position, as there was a 2-wide battle going on for the lead for the first 3 laps. But congratulations on your podium tonight. I believe it's your first one of the season, and it's been a weird season for you, going from the Racing Point now to Mercedes. And going forward, do you think that you can put together a good program for this team? And going into the next few races, what are your overall goals for the rest of the season?
More podiums, honestly. If I can just shoot for more podiums, I think that'd be the best. Bronson's pretty much up front every single race, so congrats to him for pretty much winning the first races of the season, like pretty much all of them. Since Matt's also been racing, he's also been up front. So just trying to secure the 3rd spot on the podium, honestly.
Well, Caleb, it has been a great run here at Silverstone. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I don't really have any, honestly.
It's totally fine not to have them. It's such an odd series that we have here. We have to still ask you just in case you do, but congratulations on a 3rd place finish here, Caleb. And hopefully we get to talk to you more up in the booth after these races.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Well, Anthony, I mean, this race was dominated by Bronson Stafford, but the man who gave him a fighting chance for that first about lap or so, that was Matthew Dyer. We're going to bring in Mr. Dyer here. Matt, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, that first lap was kind of wild from our point of view. How was it from yours?
It was pretty good. I was trying my best to get by Bronson. He just put his car in the best spot to defend me. I just couldn't quite get past him.
It just seemed like once he got past you and was able to finally hit his rhythms and his spots, you really didn't have any chance for him. But it also looked like you were starting to have challenges behind you. Were you nervous at all that you weren't going to be able to get this 2nd place finish?
No, I was fairly confident with it. I just had my I forgot to switch down my diff down from qualifying, so I had my differential at 90, which tore up my rears at the first stint. So I just could had no grip out of the corner. So that's why I wasn't able to pull away from the guys behind me.
Now, as I am aware of it, this is the first of many races that we'll see you as a regular here, as you have made an announcement that you will bring that Renault back every single week after this going forward. And you had a teammate out there now, so Renault as a whole looking to put a dent into the Constructors' Championship and in the individual Drivers' Championships, even though that Bronson Stafford has got a pretty big lead in that particular championship. There's still a chance that with Ferrari having a really weird showing today and then going forward, how confident are you that you can get Renault into a top spot in the Constructors, and for you personally going into the Drivers' Championship?
I definitely think I can get into. I definitely think I can pass JD and Brakey in the points. Just depends on if they have any more troubles or not. But it's going to be a long shot for Renault to even make it into the top 2. But I think we can get top 3.
Well, Matt, it's been a wild race here at the start, but at the end you were kind of by yourself. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Just shout out to Raise Energy and Rep Sports. Besides that, just thank you guys for doing the broadcast.
Well, that's Matt Dyer getting a win here. I mean, not a win, a second place finish, which kind of feels like a win at this point with how much Bronson is winning everything. Matthew Dyer with the second place finish here at Silverstone. You know, sometimes you just hope that it's going to be someone else, but it never seems like it's going to. Bronson Stafford does it again. Bronson, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
What's up?
So, how's 8 in a row feeling for you?
Pretty good. That's officially over half the season.
So that first lap was one of the craziest first laps we've seen all season long, with you and Matt battling back and forth. How was it trying to navigate past the Renault, and you knew that you had a faster car than him, but he was just staying there for the first lap?
Yeah, that first lap was really fun. Matt put up a hell of a fight. I think he overheated his tires a bit, and I was just able to break away once I got in front, but he definitely had me going. It was good fun though. I couldn't see where he was a couple times. I was like, Matt, I don't know where you are. And yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, I mean, this season kind of looking like you've set up to win the Drivers' Championship pretty comfortably at this point. But constructors-wise, with the Ferraris missing out one of their drivers here today, it really bumps you guys up into possibly taking the lead in constructors after today. So how does that make you feel moving forward, that Ferrari was able to pass you when you were just by yourself with no teammates? Now that you're seeing yourself having teammates week after week, are you feeling comfortable constructors-wise?
I definitely think there's a shot now, at least. Obviously, it sucks JD wasn't here. I think there's just a miscommunication a bit on that end of why he wasn't here tonight. But JD's always quick, and obviously Brakey had some things going on as well. He still managed to get 5th with the car, and yeah, it was nice to have Shane back. Shane, he's on a wheel and stuff now, so he's still getting up to speed with the game again, but he looked good. He had solid pace, and he didn't make a mistake at all this race, so he's already had big gains. And if he just shows up in races and I can kind of keep the streak going, or even have Matt knock the Ferraris down a peg off of the podiums or whatnot, then I definitely think constructors, there's a chance to get both of them, driver and constructor-wise, for the AlphaTauri team.
We're only halfway through the season, officially over halfway through the season. We've seen you win races in a number of different fashions, this one being a bit more cut and dry than a couple other ones. Think back to Canada, where it was kind of crazy throughout the entire race. But going forward, are we going to see the typical Bronson, and are we going to get the pleasure to talk to you every week going through the rest of the season? Because I honestly, it's one of the more constant things that I have going for me right now. Just overall, it's just Bronson Stafford will be chatting with us later on tonight.
I think based off of speed alone, I think it'll be hard to get me off the podium. I don't know if I can keep winning races. Dyer and Breaky and JD are almost right there. I think if they find that little bit extra speed or consistency, I think they can knock me down. But I think it'll be hard to keep me off the podium at least. And so I think you'll get to keep speaking to me a little bit here, Anthony.
That's good because I enjoy speaking with you. I really, before Sam takes the end of it, we commented earlier in the race where it was like we kind of have our own Lewis Hamilton where he's always there and it's the one constant. We're like, well, Bronson's in the lead and he's got it. Oh man, it's fun to watch you though. It's fun to watch you every week because it's low key kind of magical watching somebody get that big of a lead in any series. Full disclosure, any series getting that big of a lead is not easy at all. And
I'll be honest, it's not easy. Like I might look easy to anyone watching and stuff like that, but I'm pushing every lap. Like I'm constantly watching the gaps and making sure that I'm not giving up time where I need to not be, kind of thing. So it's even though I'm winning these races, I'm not ever backing down and taking it easy. Like I am giving my 100% every lap of the race. So there's always a chance I could make that mistake, you know. So it's like you say, it's not easy at all.
No, for the viewers, it may look like you said, it may look easy. Definitely not easy. So don't discredit drivers that look like they've just have some magic wand that they're pulling out every race to win races. No, it's much more than that going on behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, also you got to think of, I mean, Bronson, I mean, you and I, we've talked about how you have wheel issues every time to time. So that's always a factor that you got to deal with as well.
Oh, the new wheel's been great, actually. I haven't had any issues yet. It's been great.
Oh, that's good to hear. It's good to hear. That's why we're seeing consistency from Bronson, the fact that he doesn't have to worry about electronical errors coming in that way. But yeah, Bronson, once again, a dominating performance here. And yes, it's a constant for us, and it's always helpful just to see a constant here during 2020. So thank you for being that. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Oh yeah, definitely always you guys, Anthony and Sam. It's always fun to go back and watch them. You guys seem like you at least have a good time with it and have some fun, and it's fun to watch. It's the energy that counts, you know. Even if the product isn't always there, the energy's really solid. Obviously, breaking stuff we're still getting tonight to happen, even with Canadian Thanksgiving and stuff going on, and it kind of threw a wrench in some people's plans, like Josh Breaky and JD was out and stuff. So, but it still happened. We got a race in, and it was a pretty solid one. Everyone did pretty good. There was a good battle, I think, from third on back and second for a good time. So it was still a good race.
And that's Bronson Stafford and the AlphaTauri team getting another win, stamping 8 in a row, winning everything so far this season here at Silverstone. Have a great rest of your night there, Bronson, and most likely we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Well, Anthony, as we're winding down from interviews, what are some of your final thoughts here tonight?
Silverstone never disappoints in any race that we put on these on this track, no matter what discipline, skill level. It always seems to bring about the best out of all these drivers, and it was the closest battle that we have seen overall throughout for any position that we have seen all season long. The lead was under contest for the opening few laps. The second place was under contest for majority of the first half of the race, and then you go back, the podium, the final podium spot swapped hands twice in the last two, 3 laps. So
Yeah.
you know, it never disappoints when we come to Silverstone. Freshly repaved, it looks beautiful. The racing is beautiful here. And I can't say how much I love Silverstone enough. It's probably one of the more perfect tracks in the entire world.
Silverstone is quick, it's fast, but we only get faster from here as we're going to be going to Spa next week, and we're going to see if Bronson Stafford can continue his winning ways. But here at Silverstone, we know who the winner is. It's Bronson once again. And Anthony, just want to say thank you once again for being in the booth here today. I know we were kind of hesitant on if this race was even going to happen here today, but we got it done. Very exciting for us to watch as viewers and for broadcasters. And thank you again for being up in the booth.
It's always a pleasure being here, and I was kind of hoping it would happen, and it did. And you know, it's always a thrill to watch Formula One racing, and I want to thank you for putting up with me for the 1.5 to 2 hour broadcast that we do together. it's always fun to have someone you click with, and I think we finally got there.
Yeah, we finally figured it out after how long we've been doing this. I think we're still having fun doing this, which is the goal. And that's it here at Silverstone. As more racing action next week will be at Spa. For us at Flatout Racing Network, more races are going to go on throughout the week here on our YouTube page. Next week, I mean, not next week, but tomorrow, excuse me, for the Vintage 87 series, they're going to be racing at the Bristol Short Track Racing in the F87, the stock cars. They've already been slipping and sliding at super speedways and speedways. We'll see how short track racing goes for those vehicles. And then on Wednesday, we've got the SARG Super Speedway Series at Talladega for their 4th race of the season. That's going to be a wild one to watch as well. For myself, Sam Dyer, and for Anthony McCurry adding in the booth and being awesome as always. Thank you for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network, and we'll see you next week at Spa.